Up degenerates, Mad Merrigan here for 𝗕𝗿𝗵𝗁 Sports. Right, 𝗕𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗁 in the plate again as we look ahead at what is an amazing July festival. Are you looking forward to the weekend's action?
Yeah, definitely great racing, Paddy, to look forward to, and hopefully Martin will help us there pick up a few winners, please God.
Yeah, hopefully. And the bookie basher, Mickey D himself, the man that likes to drive the boot in. How's things, Mickey?
Very good, Paddy. Now, made a few pounds last weekend on Joe's good double on Saturday. I'll be soon able to afford to buy a big frying pan like the one you have cooking there at times in the kitchen.
It's away from the pan I'm trying to get. Right, on a weekend of a big sprint, we have a multiple group winning sprint jockey, a man, one of the best rides I've ever seen in a sprint in the Abbey back in the day. Really, really world class, getting up on the line to take down a massive race, as well as winning the King's Stand, an Irish classic winning jockey, Martin Harley. How's things?
Good afternoon, guys. How are we? Everything's good, my end.
Very, very good. Let's move on, so lads, and we'll have a quick look at Thursday's card. So it kicks off the 120. We have a maiden here for the fillies. I'll just come to you, Joe Value. Anything in here standing out to you? I've seen this, 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝐿 Stout has a nicely bred filly here as well.
Yeah, he does indeed, but I like this Princess Shabnam. I thought she ran very well on debut against the horse by the name of Detail, which the Meads think an awful lot of. And the horse that was second, called Maybury, ran very well at Epsom. So it's good form. She's drawn against the rail if she wants to go up the rail on her own, the near side here, and I think she might take a bit of beat.
Very, very interesting. I'll just come to our jock on board. Martin, you're riding in here. I see you have a ride, Saint Mist, or Sain Mist, is it?
Yes, Saint Mist. She's been doing things right at home. Obviously, it looks a strong race tomorrow on paper. As you just said there, 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝐿 Stout has got a beautifully bred filly in there. My filly will probably need the education tomorrow. But one that I would just keep on the wraps is Mr. Goslin's filly. I've ridden her first time out for Sheikh Mohammed, and she's improved from her first run, and she'll be thereabouts tomorrow. Red Joan, her name is.
Yeah, Red Joan. Mickey D, the bookie basher himself. Where does it lie here, Mickey?
Yeah, this race is normally won by an above average sort in the last 10 years, and Carol Burke trained the last two, and Charlie Appleby trained the previous two. Carol Burke has two in this. Snooze and You Lose seems to be the better of the two. For all the cat lovers that's watching, there's a Mystic Wells that's bred by Kitten's Joy and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Tabasco Cats. So there's plenty of meows there. But I came down on Martin mentioned it there about the well-bred Invigilate it's a sister to Expert Eye who won first time out, and her other two siblings was third first time out. So it seems to be that an ounce of breeding is worth more than a ton of eating, an old saying. So I'll be going on that one tomorrow.
Yes, really, really interesting. And 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝐿 Stout doesn't tend to run a whole lot of two-year-olds, if memory serves me correct. Right, let's move on so to the Bahrain Trophy. Very interesting horse here at the head of the market. Stowell, the Johnny Gosden trained. Joe Value ran a massive race in Ascot off the back of only a couple of runs. Is this the value at the head of the market or not?
I don't think so. I think 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 has the best form, and he's after getting gelded since his last run. So he's rock solid form. He's after getting gelded. He won't mind if the ground. He'd probably prefer decent ground, but I think he takes a lot of boxes, and I think he'd be hard beat.
Right, I'll just come to you, Martin. Have you the pleasure of sitting on this Stowell or Stowell, however you pronounce it, or are you familiar with 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏 up third in the market at 6-1? Being a little disappointed, was highly tried though.
Yes, I'm strong on the Mr. Gosden horse. I won on him second start at Ascot, and then he went on to Royal Ascot, and as you said, he had a bad draw. He dropped in from a bad draw. Frankie ran him quiet, but for me, he come home with a strong finish. And the only thing would worry me a little bit tomorrow if he didn't get a little bit of rain. The ground could be on the fast side tomorrow. He hasn't raced on fast ground before, even though he's run on poly track. But when I did ride him, he suggested he had a lovely round action. And he wouldn't want a description of firm in the ground. That's the only thing would hold me back a little bit. There is rain forecasted this evening. If that comes, he would have a lively only.
Yes, very interesting. Mickey D, I'll come to you. What is your thinking here? Can you bash the bookies in the stairs race?
It was won last year by 𝐿 at 3-1. Only 2 favourites in the last 10 years. 𝗕𝗏 is the highest race at 109, but it doesn't seem to have progressed from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old. 𝗕𝗏𝘁 likely raced only 3 times. 3rd in the King's Vase, just right behind Wordsworth, who franked the form since. But the best form in the race, I think, is by Beer. Joe mentioned it there. 3rd in the Classic Trial and Sandown, just behind Alan Kerr, Eddie and Lone Eagle was 4th in that race. Then it was 4th in the D Stakes in Chester. 𝐿-Drama won that, and that ran in the King George last week. And then to 2nd to Lone Eagle the last time in Goodwood. And Lone Eagle nearly won the Irish Derby. So there's 3 solid runs, and it's rated 7 and 106. So that'll do for me.
Yes, very interesting race. For me, I'm going to give one more chance to the Mark Johnson horse. Is it Dancing King or Dancing? Yeah, I think it is Dancing King. I just think I'm willing to draw a line through Royal Ascot. It just was very slow away and looked like it was going to do something for a minute, and it didn't. Look, I'm a forgiving type, but it'd be small stakes stuff. Right, let's move on so to the 𝗕𝗏𝘁𝗄𝗏 July Stakes. This is a really, really interesting race. At the head of the market, Project Dante was unlucky for me in Ascot. Then we have, is it Eldrick Jones, still a maiden, albeit was 2nd in Royal Ascot. I'll come to you, Mickey D. Where does it lie here?
Yeah, last year won by tactical 5-2 shot. 3 favourites in the last 10 years, and there has been 2 14-1 shots and an 11-1 shot. It depends which race you look at Ascot. There's 2 of them, like there was unlucky, you could say. Eldrick Jones, the Roger Fell train one, was bought for 26,000 at the Breeze Up sales, so it was shown a bit. It was 3rd. It was beaten the nose first time out. It was a very strong favourite, and then it showed huge improvement the last time to be 2nd in the Coventry Stakes to Berkshire Shadow. It was drawn 2, run up the middle of the track that ran on strongly. So I think that might be better for him than the other one.
Definitely interesting. Martin Harley rides as a metric here. The son is a son of showcasing 2 from 2. Martin, how are you feeling going into this deep race?
Yeah, he's a very talented horse. He's a horse that was been prepared for the Breeze Up. Went to the Breeze Up. He was spotted a good figure at the Breeze Up. He's done nothing wrong in 2 starts. When he won a Goodwood first time, I was obviously quarantined in France for the French Derby. Andrea won on him. I won a small novice race back at Newmarket. The horse that he beat at Goodwood went on to finish 2nd in a listed race at Sandown. To be honest, he's probably one of my stronger rides of the meeting, and he's way overvalued tomorrow. His work has been unbelievable in the last week, and I'm all over this horse tomorrow.
Right, that's really, really strong words. The degenerates at the channel. Joe Value, what are you thinking now after hearing that? 11-1.
I tell you, I did fancy a showcasing horse in it, but I think I'll be back in another showcasing horse now as well. But the one I liked was the, what do you call him there? The Project Dante. Yeah, he's just very solid, just very, very solid. And you know, his Ascot run was very good. And Brian Smart tends not to do a whole lot with his horses before debuts. And just had one on debut. He gives him plenty of work on. He won that. He came on and a bit unlucky in Ascot, and this is his 3rd run. Could be best is yet to come. But that's very interesting what Martin was saying. So a little forecast for the crack might be in the offing.
Yes, definitely very, very interesting and strong words. So the very best of luck tomorrow with that, Martin. I was thinking there was another outsider as well that could, look, it'd have to step up a million miles, but could outrun its odds at 28-1 was Sam Maximus. Right, let's move on so to a tricky race. We have a horse that some say was unlucky not to win in Royal Ascot, maybe just unlucky not to get there in time, but the each way extra bet handicap race for 365. We have Boom Shala. Mickey D, I'll come to you. Stepping up, I think it was at 5 furlongs in Ascot, it flew home to be 2nd.
Yeah, it's a tricky race. The 20 runners, no favourites in the last 10 years. And the lowest price winner was 7-1. So that sort of puts me off. I know he's a good chance, but unlucky horses are unlucky, sort of. But I had picked 𝗶𝗏𝗁. The ground against him in Ascot, he's a 20-1 shot, so I'll be backing him each way.
Lovely. Joe, where does the value lie? He's 5-1 for a horse that looked like living. We have Popmaster, Oisin Murphy second in the bet in the Ed Walker trend.
Yeah, well, the favourite 𝗵𝗂𝗆 kind of divides opinion. Some say he's probably thrown in off 98. Others think, it might be worth taking on. But I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence. He was a bit unlucky in Royal Ascot against the horse that we tipped up significantly. I thought if, 𝗕𝗏𝗁𝐻, he turned to the right instead of going left. If he went left, he would have got a great run up the rail. But look, he was unlucky in Royal Ascot. I can't really oppose him because I think he's ahead of his mark. So I'll probably have something small on him. I don't know. Let's see what.
Yes, well, us at 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝐻 Sports was lucky. We were lucky. He was unlucky. Martin Harley. An interesting race, Martin. Can you pin that down and it wide open?
A horse that I've been watching very strongly. I think the ground went a bit against him at Ascot is Jumpy. He carries obviously his top weight tomorrow. He runs off 104, which is always a little bit of a task. But a 6 furlong handicap, I don't think it'll catch him by too much. But he's a horse that'll appreciate the fast ground tomorrow. He was a winner on the Rolling Mile. He'll be much more suited by the stiff finish on the July course tomorrow. And he's a horse that I know the team think a lot of. And he's a horse that I think a lot of. He's been unlucky in a few handicaps. Not last time, but a previous time before he won a Newmarket. And even though he's hiking a big weight tomorrow or top weight, he's a horse that I would like a lot.
Yeah, definitely an interesting horse. I tipped him up when he won after that luckless run the time before. And then again in Ascot, I tipped him up. He was disappointed. However, at 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝐻 Sports, just as Martin Harley told you, he has a massive chance on 11-1 shot in the previous race. I like a 20-1 shot here for the Degenerates. Metro's on fire. This is a fast improving horse. Definitely needs to step up on what he has done. But for a stable having a really good time of it, Martin Dwyer as well, I think if this horse can step up a little bit more again at 20-1, this has to be a player. And looks to be improving. Impressive at Pontefract. Then in a 3-runner race the next day, getting it done wouldn't suit him. I think a strongly run 6 tomorrow. This horse at 20-1, he'll warm them. I'm telling you, he won't be far away. Right, let's leave that there and move on. Is this next favourite a good thing? 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝐻, speaking of Martin Dwyer and the Muir camp, putting this horse to the sword in Epsom and turning him over, albeit on favourite soft ground. Mickey D, what are you thinking? Highest ground, the Sir Michael Stoute. Little bit disappointing in Ascot, but definitely a horse that maybe has a chance if he stepped up again.
Well, this could be easy. It could be 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝐻. Rated 120, getting £3 from 116 rated horse. Highest ground is rated 107. Like, that's nearly a stone in the difference. The only one thing is against him, sort of, that there's only one favourite in the last 10 years, but he's entered in the King George and he's entered in the judgment, Group 1. This is a Group 2, so it's his to lose.
Definitely he's to lose. Martin, I'll come to you just quickly. 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝐻, very, very good all year. Yes, maybe put to the sword on soft ground the last day. What are you feeling? Is he as good as they think he is? Or as he's shown, to be fair?
Yes, I'm very, very strong on the horse. He's hot favourite for a reason. I definitely put it down to the ground last time. He come there travelling good. Still thought he was going to come out on top, but Martin Dwyer had the rail to run against. He had his horse balanced and really, really hitting that last furlong strong. William Haggis' horse got a little bit unorganised on the ground. They just couldn't get it together. But for me, I think it's going to set up beautifully. So Ron Paisley, a horse that I'm very strong on, I think he'll go a good gallop tomorrow. And listen, he'll have his work cut out, but he's a good traveller, 𝗓𝗏𝗄𝐻. And I think it'll, a good pace tomorrow to shoot at. Beautiful ground. I think he's probably the nap of the meeting for me.
Yes, definitely interesting. Joe, is he value still at 4 to 6? It looks like the rest have to climb a few more steps to get narrow.
Yeah, I agree with everything. He'll win. Yeah.
Right, well, that's just Swift. He'll win and we'll move on. So, because when it's that easy, right, from one Shadwell horse to another. Oh my God, we missed the price. He's after being backed into 7-4. 𝗏𝗍𝗶𝗄𝐻 taking on 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝐴. This is a very, very interesting race. I'll just come to you here, Joe Value. What are you thinking? Now I see the money's coming for a horse that I'm not going to blow my own trumpet, but I did tell everybody how good he was before he won.
You did. Yes, before this, but he won the second time. You tipped him up the night before, and I was wondering when he went 8-11. I messaged you. I said, "This is very short now, 8-11." You said to me, "He should be 1-11." So I mean, you were proved right because he absolutely bolted up. And seemingly, when I was listening to a review of the race, man Angus Gold, or not Angus Gold, man Angus on Race TV said his last 3 furlongs they were all done in 10.5 seconds. He's an absolute machine, and hopefully he'll win tomorrow. He can prove that.
Yes, very interesting. I never tip up a horse in the novice stakes carrying a penalty. It's just not the way to go. I always advise to lay short price favourites in novice stakes, but there was just something about this horse when he won in Leicester. He looked like a tractor for the first 3/4 of the race, fell out the stalls, did everything wrong. He reminded me of an old green draft horse trying to school him down a bad lane to get him going, and then all of a sudden the penny dropped and he took off. Martin Harley, is this horse the real deal, or is 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝐴 already got enough form in the book to stop the train?
You missed one down the bottom. 𝗕𝗏𝗏, the horse finished beating 6 lengths in the French Derby. He's obviously a strong right of mind. The ground will depend. He ran on firm ground at Newbury first time this season. Bumped into a good filly of Richard Hannings, who went on to finish second in the Coronation. The ground will be a slight issue. He probably won't run if it ends up being firm ground. If the ground goes good or worse, and there is rain forecast, as I mentioned, don't forget about 𝗕𝗏𝗏. You know, the French Derby is very strong for him. Ryan Mears came out and won the Eclipse. The horse that finished 1 length in front of me in the French Derby pissed up in a Group 2, Christophe Soumillon on Sunday in France. So listen, there's plenty of form to bring out of that. It's definitely a strong listed race. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the favorite definitely, you know, I think he's a bit short now, but he was 2-1. But listen, for me, I'll be taking on 𝗕𝗏𝗏 for sure. I love 𝗕𝗏𝗏. He's got a massive engine and he's very well bred, colt.
Yeah, and was very impressive winner of his maiden. He won by 6 or 7 lengths. Yes, the filly Snow Lantern, that filly I have anti-post tipped up for the Falmouth, a real good filly, and an unlucky loser in Ascot. Not an unlucky loser, just Sean Levy had a job that day, get her settled, and once he had her settled, he could then worry about racing. And I think she's a live player later in the week. Mickey D, I'll come to you. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Is he the monster, or can Martin upset the party?
Yeah, one favourite in the last 8 years that this race has been ran. I'd be taking him on with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, to second in the D stakes. Now, Yibber was 4th in that, and he's raced 111 now, so he'll have ran earlier in the card, and we'll have to see. And both myself and Joe was strong on him. I have written down Durab has to be respected from the John Gosden yard. It was 8th in the French Guineas, and was only beaten a few lengths. It just didn't seem to finish out his race that day when St. Mark's Basilica head for home. But probably the ground maybe wasn't as just, maybe needed more cutting that I wrote down as well. So I would have thought 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is racing 111, and that's enough class to win a listed race. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 only beat horses raced 83 and 89, so it has to improve, you know, to get up to 111. Like, so it should be a good race, but I'll be taking the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on.
Right, well, I know what you're saying. He did beat horses only rated that much, but if you bet them any further, he'd be rated 220. So, look, for me, as much as I'd love to see my good old friend Martin, that I was lucky enough to grow up with, and he's a couple of years younger than me, not a lot, but a couple. As much as I'd like to see him getting the win, I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is going to show tomorrow that he's the best 3-year-old in England. So really, really interesting horse. Durab, definitely very good form in the book. Just talking about the French Derby as well. Look at the winner did since it came out the other day. So really, really interesting race. Definitely one that we're all, for like talking about a listed race, lads. Jesus, it wouldn't be out of place as a Group 1. Right, you know, maybe there's a couple a little bit less, but these horses are definitely group horses in a little bit. A number of them. Right, the last race, so a handicap to 4:45 in Newmarket. Go through it there. Mickey D, I'm going to just come to you. There's a lot of runners in it. I have a horse here I really fancy, but I'm going putting him up on the service this week. So I'll leave this to you. Take the floor. Mickey D.
There's two interesting horses for me. One is Path of Thunder, rated 92. I think it should be competitive off that mark. But the other one is Migration. It hadn't ran for 21 months. From September 2019 until it ran the last time. It's a smash from 16-1 into 4-1, finished 4th after a torrid trip. It was last the whole way, and it's like a weaver beaver over and back, and in the last 100 yards it really rallied, not bet that far. So whoever put down the money that day seemed to be in the know that it's competitive off that mark. So I don't know what, I didn't get any prices off any of them. They were the two I picked out without looking at any prices at all.
Right, Martin Harley, can you steer us in the direction of anything here? I see he's at the head of the bet, 9-2, Legendary Day, 11-2, Path of Thunder, and a couple more. Tricky enough race, wide open handicap. Where does it lie here, Martin?
For me, I'm massively strong on 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗄𝗲𝗄. It's a horse of Mr. Gossens. They paid 1.6 million as a 2-year-old for him. He's had a few little setbacks through the winter. I rode him first time out on the rolling mile, didn't handle the track, come back to Ascot, was Rob Hampton on him and run after, travelled into the race real strong, got a little bit tired. All I can tell you, on his homework at home, he shouldn't be rated 88. And I think you'll see the best of him tomorrow, running on a beautiful track, a nice stiff finish over his proper distance. He's a horse that should not be rated 88, and if he shows up tomorrow, there's only going to be a one-horse race.
Right, 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗄𝗲, big words for him. Joe Value, he's around the 11-1 mark. Is he value for that?
Yeah, absolutely. He's drawn one as well, which might be a help. I don't know, is he wearing a first-time visor though, Martin? Would that worry you in any way, no?
Sorry?
He's no visor.
No, sorry, right, I got it wrong. So, yeah, I think he's a nice horse himself, and at that kind of price, he's worth a few quid.
He's been a little bit frustrated, Mr. Gosden, but I promise you, I think all the eggs are in the right basket now, and I think tomorrow, if he doesn't show up tomorrow, we'll all be disappointed. But on his homework, he's an absolute steal at 11-1, running off a mark of 88.
Wow, really confident words, and great to have the insight. Okay, lads, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up day one because our jockey is on his way to Kempton trying to go and ride a couple of winners. Anything there tonight, Martin, worth a quick look at? Are you there, Martin?
Not much there tonight. All eyes tune in tomorrow.
Right, great job. Okay. Joe Value, thank you as always. And Mickey D, very good. Thanks for being on the show. We'll come back to you, lads. We'll preview day 2 and day 3 of the July Cup meeting. Cheers, lads. Martin, the very best of luck. A pleasure to have Classic winning a multiple Group 1 jockey on the show. The time for Codden is over. Thanks. Day 2 of the July Cup meeting brings a new challenge. So let's just touch on the 150. The bet 𝗕ecie Heritage handicap over 1.25 miles. We have Fox's Tails at the head of the market. We have Peter the Great, Frankie the Tory in second. Joe Value, I'll just come to you. Very interesting race. Probably not an overly big field. Still all the same. Some interesting runners.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting race. You could give plenty chances. I like Peter the Great. He's a young horse, moving forward by new approach. I don't think I want a whole lot of rain now because he's good form and good to form, and they're giving rain there. But I think he's a big chance. Obviously, Fox's Tails was very impressive in Ascot, and he's a live one as well. But an open race, yeah.
Mickey D, give us one here to bash the bookie. As you say, to put the bookie on the bike.
Well, I'm with Joe Value. Pete the Great, I came down on Pete the Great. My angle to this was the King George, the handicap at Ascot is always a great guide. I always look at that. So I had picked out Sis Canny that finished 4th, but it's not running. So an angle through that was that Pete the Great finished second to Nagano when it last ran. And Nagano was sixth in the King George. So that was my angle. I wanted to get any form tied in to that handicap. So Pete the Great rated 92 is my selection in this race.
Really, really interesting. Right. Let's just touch on a horse I marked up on my daily tips. I gave him to the notebooks a long time ago. Was Fox's Tails. I knew this horse was pretty smart. And he was very green when he won his maiden in Newbury. He then went to Chester, but you just forget about that because we knew that day he might not handle that track. He didn't. He showed up in Ascot. I tipped him up again in Ascot. He ran. He proved to me what I knew he was. He was a very, very good horse. And I don't think £9 is going to stop him. I think he's a group horse. I think he genuinely is a group horse. He still is learning. He still is immature. How he will act on really quick ground here, I'm not so sure. But whatever about tomorrow, this is a horse for the future and definitely a big horse. But yeah, look, we got a right touch off from the last day in Royal Ascot. Right, let's move on from one Balding horse to another. So this was a really, really interesting filly by Dark Angel. Is it Sandrine David Probert won at Royal Ascot when still looking unfurnished. We have Hello You ridden by Ross Orion, second in the market, ran away with a race in Wolverhampton. And yeah, great to see Rossa back and back in the winner's enclosure straight away as well. Didn't take him long to take down a group race at the Curragh last week.
Yeah, I was going to give this 𝗏𝗏𝗏 another chance. I thought she was awesome when she won a Goodwood. But that race doesn't really seem to be working out now. There's a horse called Profound Alexander got beat in a weak enough race at Linkfield earlier on this afternoon. But I might, if the ground is kind of not gone on her, because the ground went on her in Ascot, she hated it. But she was favoured to win that race in Ascot. So, look, at the prices, she might be a bit of value now to come back to the sort of form that she showed on her debut in Goodwood. So, small little bet there on 𝗏𝗏𝗏 at a big price.
First Lady of the USA. Right, Mickey D, what are you thinking? Can 𝗏𝗏𝗏 bounce back? Looked pretty special, to be fair, in Goodwood. What are you thinking here? Personally, I think Sandrine at 2-1 is definitely a bet considering how unfurnished she was when still winner.
Yeah, if 𝗏𝗏𝗏 hadn't ran in Royal Ascot, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 to be favoured for this race. Disappointed, but the ground was it was that day that the terrible ground, so you could throw that out as a good excuse if you wanted. Only 3 favourites in the last 10 years. Like when Sandrine won the Albany, Hello You was second, and that 𝗓𝐞𝐿 was third, and that ran up on the rail, and it seemed to be closing as well when it was coming towards the line. So the ground is key, especially to young horses. So depending if there's rain or if there's not rain. I mean, if there's good cut on the ground, you'd have to go with the winner of the Albany because it won like 2.5 lengths. But as Joe was saying, I was in agreement that the top of the ground would be very beneficial to 𝗏𝗏𝗏 as well, even though it was 13th that day, you know, because the ground is key to a young horse.
Yeah, she did look, just there was something about Sandrine that day. It looked very good. Anyway, a quick word on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, or 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, I think is how to pronounce it. George Bowie. This was one I went for in Ascot, and as you said, she tried to do it alone. I think no one came with her. She came near side, still ran well. It looks like she might get not a soft time bit, but definitely looks like if she wants, maybe she can have it her own way. If she goes, I think Hello You when it won Travel Lovely from Mid-Dib, Sandrine, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 will want to get settled, you'll be thinking. So there's an opportunity maybe for the Bowie filly to dominate here. Definitely interesting for me. It's a race though, I think Sandrine that will have to go to beat her, as much as Hello You was impressive on the all-weather back on good ground. Well, that's an interesting angle. As you said, you like the dirt to turf, especially now getting the good ground for Hello You. That could be very interesting because she blew them away in Wolverhampton. Right, let's move on. So a race, the 3 o'clock, the mile 6 furthest stayers. So really, really interesting. Global Storm heads the betting here. James Doyle, Charlie Appleby. We have Holly Doyle and Amateas, is it? And then an interesting horse for me here. We had Ross Orion on the show, and he gave Prince Alex a nice mention Turns out he didn't run then in Ascot, obviously withdrawn, I'd say, from the ground. Now there's a lot of money coming for this horse, lads. He was 10 to 1. All of a sudden, this horse might go off favourite. He's into 6 to 1. Joe Value, what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking about a horse that I got right touch off the last day. Being a big outsider here again, probably, but a horse called 𝗕𝗏𝘄𝗺, totally different proposition on soft or worse ground. If they got a right bit of rain, I'd have a little ging at this again. Won at a big price the last day. So if the rain didn't come, I wouldn't have an opinion on the race. But just if it does get bad ground, I'd for 𝗕𝗏𝘄𝗺 done me a good favour the last day, so I'd have something small on that again.
Yes, I think Sean 𝗏𝐶𝐲 trains, and I actually had the pleasure of meeting Sean a few times back in my jockey days in England, based around the Cotswolds then. So yeah, really interesting. Would be nice to get a winner on the cards here. Mickey D, where does it lie? What about this gamble on our previous guest, Rossa Ryan, Prince Alex, and Ralph Beckett? What a year he's having.
Yeah, it has a right good chance. The race that I was looking at to get a form line on this was the Copper Horse Stakes at Ascot, won by 𝗵𝐶𝐲. Got a great ride sort of up near the front that day from Holly Doyle. It took £4 for it. The Global Storm was third in that. It's gone up £2. But 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Brian Moore takes the ride this on Saturday or Friday for Brian Meehan. Well, that ran up on the rail that day, and it was further back than probably they wanted. And he had to switch it out, and he ran on fairly well. With a £3 swing, and he's 10 or 11 to 1. I prefer to be on him than with the £3 swing that he might be able to switch it around with the front two.
Yes, definitely interesting. All right, I remember you tipping him in Ascot, giving him a chance. Yes.
Golden Rules is in that race as well. It was 4th of 19 to Rashun in the 2.5 mile race. So coming back and trip, to 1/6. That's a fairly decent joke as well, So they were the two that I had sort of picked out, with the better fancy being 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, sorry, I want to mention that Golden Rules as well. I had that in my mind to ask Martin, but Martin kind of went down my head because Martin was gone. He rode it 3 times previously. I think he's only ran 6 or 7 times in his life. I had a good cut on him in Wolverhampton one day when he should have won, but he didn't. But he's a very interesting horse. Now, yeah, thanks for reminding me, Mick. Actually, I'll be having something on him as well. Golden Rules.
Very, very interesting. Right, listen, a horse here, and I just want to give a quick mention to Hockfield. How could you not like him? What a run again in the Northumberland Plate. Really interesting. Look, Ben Curtis, Mark Johnson's really admirable horse. He'll definitely be thereabouts. Now, I can't ignore the fact all this money is coming for this Prince Alex. This could go off favourite, lads. It's really interesting. He's only a 4-year-old, and Rossa Ryan spoke highly about him the last day. So I think for me, he's definitely worth an interest. Maybe before he goes off any shorter, you want to be getting on soon. Right, let's move on to the Falmouth. Right, the fillies race. What a race we have here. Alcohol Free tops the betting. Andrew Baldwin again, Oisin Murphy. Snow Lantern, second. Sean Levy. Primo Bacchi, or however you pronounce her. The Ed Walker filly, very impressive, albeit when everything in her favour at York the last day. Mother Earth, Lady Bowthorpe as well. A horse I think can probably run better than she did in Ascot. What are you thinking here, Joe Value? Where does the value lie? Because if you have the winner of it, you have the value, because they're all a good price.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable race. I'm really looking forward to seeing this race. I have a soft spot for Queen Power, to be honest with you. She's I tipped her up in right last cut. I got a nice touch off for New York. But if the ground stays nice, the Snow Lantern is the one they all have to beat. I know you love her, but it'll be between Queen Power and Snow Lantern for me, depending on what way the ground goes.
Mickey Lee, what are you thinking here? What a mouth-watering race this is. Let's just look at the fillies in it. Really, what's going to win the Falmouth, Mickey?
A staggering race tomorrow. The only one certainty is that the owner of this winning horse tomorrow won't be alcohol free tomorrow night. I'd say it'll be full of champagne.
Yeah.
So it was won last year by Nasri for John Gosden. 3 favourites in the last 10 years. 7 4-year-olds and 3 3-year-olds. So, and the favourites, the three favourites that won were the three 3-year-olds. So the Lady Bowthorpe and there's another one there. They're not in the stats. They're 5 or more. Indie Angel, very impressive, and a top of the ground horse, was supplemented for this race. Snow Lantern, unlucky, sort of had to switch the last day behind Alcohol Free in the Coronation Stakes. Indie Angel won the Duke of Cambridgeshire. Lady Bowthorpe was second. Queen Power was third, given £3. Champion Elise was fourth in that race, given £5. I think the value is Champion Elise at 20 to 1. It was given £5, it's getting £5. They're on level weights now at 9 to 7 with Indie Angel. But she's a 4-year-old. I know I have a sort of a soft spot on her because I was on her last time a couple of years, but Johnny Murtagh, I heard him saying that they were taking an extra bit of time to get her fit this year. And this is her 4th run back as a 4-year-old. 20 to 1. The gap will be closing. So they're given, a 20 to 1 shot. I take it rather than trying to. I understand that the Chivalry Park won't be throwing away money by supplementing it, but being in the first 3 in a Group 1 race, that's what they'd be looking for. Champs-Élysées is already Group 1 winner of the Matron last year. So it's fitting the stats, 4-year-old, lively outsider. That'll do for me. Johnny Murtagh bringing a horse over.
Yeah, you'd be hoping the good ground can bring her on a bit. I don't know. I think she's just flattened out a bit for me. Really liked her a couple of times. Decided to give her a chance the last day in Ascot, but she could just never really do it. And I thought she got stuck in the mud. I think it was at the Curragh the time before. She was trying to run on, she couldn't. But yeah, I can see reasons why you would. Unfortunately, I just think she might have leveled off, and she mightn't have the physical scope as a couple of others. Anyway, I'll keep it short and sweet. I really like Snow Lantern. I've tipped her up on my service as an anti-post during the week, so I hope all my followers are on now that I'm talking about her, but I'm sure they are. They got her treat a few days ago. And yeah, look, for me, I think Sean Levy rode her in Royal Ascot the last day. They had one goal there, and that was to settle this filly. Now, that was to just get her switched off and teach her how to relax and then worry about racing. And it wasn't plain sailing for her in Ascot. She was caught on a wing. When I say on a wing, she was actually down the inside, but they came up the outside rail in Ascot, which didn't help her. She ran free enough as well that day. So I think Sean done a beautiful job that day. Now you're going to see how good this filly is. Her mother, Sky Lantern, couldn't win this race. But if this filly settles in the first half of this race on Friday, I think Sean Levy gets the big winner here. This is a classy filly. I think Alcohol Free was good in Ascot, and definitely a filly of note. But I think the best filly finished second in that race, and she'll show it on good ground this week. I love her. I think at a price, it's a giveaway, a massive each way price there. She's 9 to 2, 4 to 1 on Morris Farms. It is as good as each way bet as there is. This filly gets settled at all. You're going to see a special performance. She's a really good one. Right, we'll leave it there and I'll move on to Saturday because the time for cotton is over. Right, the 3:15, they have Newmarket, an old favourite of yours. Mickey, you were on him in Ascot. He was very, very impressive in Leicester. Native Trial, Charlie Appleby, the Buick team, and another horse, Mescala, the Baldings. I think another one you had a bit of interest in. Ran well in Ascot, finished 5th. Mickey D, I'll come to you first. What wins it?
Yeah, 4 favourites in the last 10 years. Charlie Appleby has trained it 3 times, and Richard Hannon 3 times, and Richard Fahey twice. John Gosden hasn't won it this race at all, which is a bit surprising. He has to have all right. 6th in the Coventry. You have the Coventry form, and then you have the Chesham form as well. Great Max. It was well gambled on Great Max. The left, that was 3rd. Behind Point Lonsdale. It won first time out as well, and I was leaning a bit towards Great Max as opposed to, and to have the two of them sort of. He's also entered in the National Stakes and the Curragh, I noticed as well, for down the line. So the Coventry form or the Chesham, which do you take? So I'm taking Point Lonsdale's form, so I'll be on Great Max.
Joe Value, right? They have gone in from 4s to 5-2. They obviously think it was a little blip in Ascot. He's better than that. What are you thinking? Would you be with or against they have?
I'd be against them, to be honest with you. I just like this native trail. Jesus Christ, he won handy in Sandown, and like he could have went round again. He finished fierce powerfully for a young horse. This is over 7. 𝗕𝗏𝗲 is stepping up and trip. It's a bit of an unknown. Probably will stay, no problem. But I like the fact that this lad's proven over the trip, and he's going to come on a ton for his first run as well. Look, I'm not saying he'll definitely win, but I am saying that he'll be hard bet.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm going to leave it short and sweet. I really like this horse. Still was raw enough, bolted up. The fact that Charlie Appleby and William Buick take him here next speaks volumes for me. This is a race they definitely would want to be throwing their good horse hat to win, and I really like it. I just think I think it won by 5 or 6 lengths in the end. It was an impressive winner. So look at the prices at 9-2. Definitely a cracking each way bet. Quick mention though for Mascala as well. Mickey D, you gave it a mention in Ascot at the time. Ran okay that day. The ground was pretty soft. It had won its maiden on soft, but definitely maybe it is of interest here tomorrow though as well.
Well, you could pick 4 horses and you mightn't pick the right one, because you know I had a short listed. I could have spoke about 3 more horses, but I just picked the Chesham form and I worked on that, and that was my angle into it. I agree with you that it did run very well prior to the last day. Slightly disappointing. The same as to have I picked both of them for Ascot, and I'm going against them here now. So genius or bollocks again.
Hey, well, we've often been both, and twice in the 100. Right. Listen, the 350, the Bunbury Cup, we have no final decks here, but we'll give it a bash, right? Big wide open race. We have at the top of the betting, William Buick is a Parato that won. I think Oisin Murphy rode him in Ascot when he won. We have 𝗵𝗲𝐻, definitely drift out to 10s. Mukahal, listen lads, we don't know. We have a lot of runners here. We don't even know what's going to run, but by the looks of it, Parato is going to show up because he's shortening all the time in the bet.
Yeah, there's a horse here called 𝗵𝗂𝘄𝗆. I tipped him up at Royal Ascot at 40-1 or something like that, and he finished second on his side. But like the advantage was over to be the near side, stand side, nearly all week in Ascot. But this guy was second on his side. But Oisin Murphy is booked to ride this lad, and his 2-year-old form is very, very good. And I just give him a squeak, but it'd be great. Well, probably one of the top ones in the betting, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 or whatever you call him. He's going for 2 Bunbury Cups in a row. It's some achievement if he could do that.
Yes, very interesting. Mickey D, did you manage to get a handle? Can you dig anything out of this very deep pool?
Yeah, we narrowed it down a bit. No favourites in the last 10 years. 5 winners were between 5-1 and 10-1. 5 winners were between 11-1 and 16-1. 9 winners carried 9 stone or more, and there was 1 horse carrying 8 stone 10. 3 4-year-olds, including the last 2 years, 3 6-year-olds, and 4 5-year-olds. The 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 won it last year off 105. It carried 9 stone 7. Robusto was second in that race. And 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 had a great prep, I thought, the last day in a Group 3 to Glorious Journey. It was down the field in the Victoria Cup in Ascot, but it was ran 3 times at Newmarket, 2 wins and a second. So it likes the track. It's 12-1 to get. And I looked at anything over 9 stone, and it's won it last year. It's a 5-year-old this year, isn't it? 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, or is it a 4-year-old? It fits everything anyway. And that other one that Joe mentioned, that was my second pick, if it runs, because it is carrying over 9 stone as well, isn't it? Or 8 stone 13. But I'm on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 by process of elimination.
Well, you had a good few to eliminate. There's a heap of them. Right, let's touch on, or before I move on, I just, believe it or not, actually, lads, I think we're all in agreement. 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 for me travelled very well the wrong side of the track in Ascot, was caught out in the middle of the wing. There was a few of them on the rail, and the reason I watched them run that day was because he kept bumping a horse I had backed, so I kept traveling up. They were tight enough together, and I thought to myself for a minute at one stage, Joe, you would tip them up. I think at one stage I thought you were going to do something. He looked like he was traveling really well, so definitely only a 4-year-old. Definitely has to find his form, but after a promising run the last day, a nice each way back there. Right, let's move on to the Darling July Cup. What a race this is. Starman, the talking horse, Oxted, been there, done it. Looked out of sorts, bounced back to win the King's Stand. Dragon Symbol, a horse they think a lot of Archie Watson back on his good ground. It's Judgment Day for Dragon Symbol. Can he step up to the plate, lads? He has the good ground tomorrow or Saturday, albeit unless we get an awful downpour. The ground is good to firm. They've made excuses for him on the soft ground. Got the race took off of 𝗵𝗏 Ascot, right or wrong. There wasn't much in it. We'll leave that. We won't dwell on that. Is he the horse on the good ground that can dethrone the horses at the top of the market, Joe Value?
Yeah, sure, it's a brilliant race, isn't it? Really, you know, if you like horse racing, you'll definitely enjoy this race. You know, as you said, mentioned the ground there, it's just ground dependent, isn't it? It all depends what happens with the weather. If they did get a deluge, there's nothing wrong with that creative force. You know, he did show a brilliant turn of foot to catch a horse called Native Trail or Native something that finished 4th in the Guineas the last day over 7 furlongs. Now I know he's stepping back to 6, but he seems very, very good on softish ground. Look, it's wide open. It's a race that I probably won't have a bet in, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a cracking race. Yeah,
let's just touch on him, Joe, for a second. This horse looked, excuse my language, this horse looked pretty good in Newbury the last day, I think it was it Newbury? It was, but the ground was soft, and that is the worry. I think he might really like the ground. Be interested if they got a shower of rain, definitely. Mickey D, I'll come to you. Oxted, the head of the betting, Starman, the talking horse, and then they're very unlucky to lose a race, Dragon Symbol. Whether it be right or wrong, I can see both ways of it being right and wrong.
Yeah, won last year by Oxted at 12-1. 3 favourites in the last 10 years. 4 4-year-olds in the last 10 years and 5 3-year-olds. There was only 1 5-year-old, which was Slade Power for Eddie Lynham back in several years ago. Starman is the new sprinting kid on the block. 4 for 5. The only day he was beaten was in last year in Ascot, and the ground was terrible that day. That's why he was pulled out of Ascot, and he's ground dependent. I can see him winning on top of the ground on the rain. Like he beat them all before. He beat Oxted before. Like he's up and coming, and they're all in good times as well. And he's a great stride to him. I like him a lot. But then you see if he's pulled out, you have Creative Force or Dragon Symbol. I don't know about this rain forecast at all, because I stopped looking at it a couple of weeks ago because they got it wrong so many times. You're only just you're fucking your own mind up, like, you know, watching watching these fellas, and they don't know what they're at, like, you know. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah, you can definitely overthink it. You know, they're given a heap of rain, and next thing you're going to get a drop. You can do your head in that way, all right. Yeah.
You don't know how much to water the ground either, like, you know, which is a big, you know. So I don't know. It's
we are a couple of days out, right? For me, look, I could be wrong here, but everything with my gut says Oxted's a bad favourite. I know he won it last year. I know he won the King's Stand. But before the King's Stand, now, and I could be wrong because he could be coming back, I just want to congratulate Roger Teal. What a training performance, because this horse ran in York. And for me, now I might be wrong, but the horse looked like he just wasn't in it. He just looked like his mind wasn't in it. It looked like to me he didn't want to. So he came back and he won in Ascot. Yes, he won. But here's the thing. He won a farce of a race, as in with the pace collapse. As in he came from a long way back, so did everything else that done well. King's Lynn, that was unlucky, he set out the back. He'd have won probably with a clear run as well. That race, do not take that form literally. I can tell you that. That form in Ascot isn't worth, it's not worth a dime, because they got racing far, far too soon. Jim Crowley let Patash go, I think it was 2.5 down. He moved out to the right-hand side of the horse, and he just didn't finish out on his first run back. So I think to be honest, and I might be wrong, but I have to go with my knowledge and my gut. And I think Oxted will struggle to win again. I know I might be wrong, but you know what? I'm not wrong. I know I'm right. He won't win it. And just on everything that's going, I think the race fell into his hand at Ascot. He would have finished nowhere in Ascot if that race was ran at normal gallop. And that's the reality. I just see it for what it is, and all my experience and logic of riding races tells me he is the defending horse. Yes, he can bounce back, but for me, I think he's the wrong favourite, and I think he's favoured off the back of winning it last year. And this year's form is not good enough up until a pace collapse in what was a 5 furlong race, his first time over 5, where he would have the stamina. Look at 𝗚𝐸𝐵𝐵, finished second in that race, stayed on, then got bet and listed at look, the form isn't worth nothing. Oxted, I loved the horse until this year, and I think he's a terrible price of 4 to 1, and I think he has no chance of winning it. Right, Starman is the new kid on the block. Dragon Symbol, if the ground stays good, Archie Watson could get back the few bob that was took off them. Creative Force, definitely interesting. Can't have him on good ground over 6, although be it very looks a very, very good horse. And if he could act on the Good to Firm was good. He was so at home. I know he's won on Good to Firm, but he was so at home. His best performance was on soft. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Big time, yeah, sure. Like he's Ascot. The turn of foot he showed in Ascot that day, no other horse was showing it. You know, and that was on softish ground. So you'd have to say he'd need plenty of rain. But if you're asking me, you know, if the rain didn't arrive, Dragon Symbol, we had a guest on, or you had a guest on, Russell Ryan, was it? And he told us then, he told us that, he told us back then that Dragon Symbol would be the one for this race. And I'm only sick now I didn't listen to him, because at the time it was around 9 or 10 to 1. And so what price are you now? 4 or 5, is he?
Yeah, do you know what's interesting? I'm just going to give one mention here to a horse. No, I don't know how interesting, because he will look. Lope Fernandez, 6 furlongs of good ground.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
it's. Do you know what? In Ascot the last day, they went no gallop over the mile, and it really suited him because he has that pace. I always had him down as a doubtful steer, right? Always, and I just think I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if Lope Fernandez bounced here and was right in it with them. I don't know if he can win it, but it's worth a try. Aidan O'Brien has definitely put this horse definitely in it. It's worth a try. Mickey D, I'll just come to you, Mickey D. Lope Fernandez, can you give him any chance trying 6 furlongs, albeit he has tried it twice before, I think, but on good ground this time?
Yes, see, I can see your angle in all right. Didn't Godolphin bring over, or not Godolphin, Coolmore bring over 10 sovereigns to win this a few years ago? And that was his first try as well at 6 furlongs. Yeah, I always put him as a 7 furlong horse, that he'd be a specialist 7 furlong horse. I thought, like, he won a mile race earlier this year, but it was in Ireland, and it wasn't much against him. But I can see where you're coming from. A fast run, maybe 6 may suit him down to the ground, like, you know, but I prefer to see him at 7, to be honest.
Right, I'm going to give one more mention, lads. I just want your opinion on a horse here, because we can't leave him out. Right, Supremacy. Really, really rock solid form last year. Came back, really disappointed. Clive Cox, Adam Kirby. Can this horse put a terrible comeback run behind him and rekindle the form? Because he looked pretty good. So definitely a horse of interest. He was as big as 20 to 1, I think.
Let Mickey take the show there.
Well, you're the excusing sort, you said before. Well, I'm not. I'd rather wait and see him showing something and then bet him the next time. Like, you know, I can see where you're coming from. Back form is there, but for me, current form is more what I look at rather than what they had. Like, you know, the old saying, bought the T-shirt and wore the T-shirt. Well, I think some of them like that are only just looking at the T-shirt, you know, so I prefer to see them having it on them and wearing it.
Definitely interesting. Right, we'll leave it there. So, lads, what a race it is. a mouth-watering clash. Look, for me, I think Oxhead's a bad favourite off the back of a false win. I think Starman definitely a very interesting horse. Dragon Symbol, Lope Fernandez. It is a race. I'm not going to pick one to win it, but I am. I think Dragon Symbol probably each way is a selection, but I am going to go against Oxhead and say keep your money in your pockets. Don't give it to the bookies. Right, we'll have one look. There's a race, lads, in the Spring Mile, is it? In Ascot on Saturday, or is it the Summer Mile? Sorry, the Spring. We're well through the Spring now. A horse a horse that we all like. He runs here. Is this his day in Group 2 company? Joe Value, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, take it away. Does he get it done? I think he's a cracking bet at 4-1.
Yeah, he's a horse that done us a bit of a favour. You know, the last day we backed him with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. What was the name of that hot pot of Gosden's? Yeah, Palace Pier. We backed him without the favourite that day. Yeah, the Queen Anne. Yeah. Look, he has a big chance, but the horse I like in that is the Mick Halford horse. Saman. I just don't have it in front of me now. Apologies. Mick Halford's horse. Anyway, I think he wants a mile as fast as 1 mile. Sinwan or something like that. Dusty was giving him a good mention the last day when he was on, and I would have been back in 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 if Sinwan wasn't in it, but I think Sinwan might beat him.
Right. Just refresh my memory. Yeah. Was this the horse that was campaigned in Maydam one time?
Sinwan, yeah, he's by Kingman.
Is he an 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 horse? No.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, because I remember losing me money on him a few times somewhere. Where was he running? Yeah, he was second.
He ran. He ran the last. Sorry, yeah, he ran the last day up the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and he kind of broke too well, and he was a bit free, and he couldn't get him covered. I just threw out that race altogether. Dusty was saying that they think an awful lot of him, and like I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, he probably come there looking like he'll win, but he has an awful habit of hanging a bit, hanging the latch a bit under pressure. So if this lad can be produced at the right time, he ran a good race over in Longchamp and that as well, in a listed race, he could have every chance, and he'd be a big enough price too, I think. So yeah, he'll do for me now.
Michael, go on, give it to me, put me right. Cancer Busker, I see your old 𝗏𝐸𝐸 is in there as well, but I think he's probably limited in this company. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Glorified handicapper. Here's a stats now that I haven't said since I started with you, Paddy.
Nicky, if I followed your stats, I'd be out of business.
No, but here's one I never said before. In the last 10 years in this race, the favourite has won 9 times.
Right.
Jeez.
And there was a 33-1 shot in 2012. Dick Turpin won. So and there's 3 or 4 vying for favouritism. Now the ground is soft in Ascot, and it could be soft to heavy by Saturday. Now that will bring in Century Dream if it runs it as Zenith Inter. It loves cutting the ground, and it goes best in heavy. My Oberon is in it, that likes cut. But there's an interesting horse there at Charlie Hills, 𝗙𝗏𝘃. It was second in Longchamp in May in a Group 1 to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is rated 120, and 𝗙𝗏𝘃 I think is rated 109. So he ran to get to within a head of a Group 1 horse on soft ground, and they sent it over to Riyadh, I think, last February as well. So it's interesting. It's sort of coming in under the radar. Judgment colours. So I can see that maybe if the ground is real heavy with that, and people can see that Group 1 for him, this is a Group 2. So I always look at an angle like that, Group 1 going back down to Group 2, rather than Group 2 going up to Group 1. So that's around a 5 or 6 to 1. I can see that maybe going off favourites ahead of St. Busker. So with the favourite stat, I'd be interested to see who goes off the fav, but I'd be more interested in 𝗙𝗏𝘃 4-year-old than anything.
Yeah, definitely interested in the short. He's into 9-2 now, so there's nothing in the top 2 or 3 at the head of the betting, top rank at 9-2. And 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, look, for me, this is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's day. It's he's to lose, I think. I think a 4-1. I like him. I just think he's been solid all the time. He's better at Ascot than anywhere else. And let's hope 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 can get a well-deserved win. Right, lads, we'll wrap it up. Thanks, as always, for your amazing analysis. Mickey D for all the stats. 𝗁𝑉𝐴𝑙𝑢 for putting us right. And what a big double 𝗁𝑉𝐴l𝑢 had on the channel. Mickey D, we have about 30 seconds, so make it fast.
Two horses to look at Saturday. 𝗲𝗲𝐿 in York, he was third to Wonderful tonight in Ascot. Broome was second, who has franked the form since. He's raised 114. He's running in a Group 3. He's about 3-1. He should win. And a horse that I had the wedge on the last day in the Rockingham, Urban Beat. I believe they're sending him over on Saturday to York. He's 10-1.
Okay, all right, Mickey. That's Urban Beat in York Saturday. Don't miss him, lads. Unfortunately, we're going to run out of time. Thanks a million, lads. As always, brilliant to have Mickey D, the Bookie Basher from out west, and 𝗁𝑉𝐴l𝑢. The time for Codden is over.
Thank you.
Cheers.